thinking about the networking. It's so beautiful because you can be selective on who you talk to, and you can be very inclusive in who you talk to.
Sure.
There was a moment during the event where there was a blind man that walked in, and he had the cane, and he was 100% legally blind. And first, I don't know how he did it, but he went through subways to the bus and made it to this event and was super excited about it. And I remember him walking by himself, like almost running into kids and adults, and people would look at him weird, like, what is he doing out here by himself? But I'm like, as opposed to looking at him like that, how can we serve him? So I was speaking for a short amount of time for that segment, got off, and then walked right over to him and tried to figure out how can we make this the best experience possible for you. Now watch, this is not about me. This is about the moment of servitude that can transform your life. This man could not see, but I made the choice to see him. In that moment, he said, there is an attraction within this event that I would like to go to and to see and to experience, right? Seeing equals experience for someone that is blind.
Sure.
I said, okay, so what do we need to do to get you there? He said, well, if you can just guide me, I will follow you. Now, this was huge. Because there are so many people that need guidance.
Yeah.
There are so many people that need to be seen. And my strength is being able to see other people. My superpower is being able to see other people, walk them and lead them and guide them to where they need to go so that they can grow. And so I walked this man all the way to this attraction, and he positioned his face to look at me, and he said, this is one of the greatest days I've ever had in my life. And this man had to be about 45 years old. And I said, why would you say that? He said, because you see me. I lost it. I lost it like I'm losing it now. And the beauty behind making the choice to serve other people is that you don't know if it can impact their entire life, their entire moment. And it stuck with me all day long. And I remember feeling like, what if I chose not to see him?
And how many have?
What if I chose not to help him? Like, this man he was like laughing and having so much fun at this attraction. And I'm just looking at him and I'm like, it was because I chose better. Like, I actually chose to see someone that couldn't see. Go ahead and take it away. Just go ahead. Let me take care of myself.
No, I love it. To a person listening, how would you encourage someone to, as you said, to be more self-aware? And how can they better allow themselves to be receptive to criticism so they can grow because they've been pat on the back for so long?
Well, I think that the first thing is you have to love yourself. And that's easier said than done. You have to love yourself. You have to love the person in the mirror. Right. And then what you also have to do, you have to minimize what you see on social media. Because oftentimes you see, say you're a young man, you don't have a lot of clothes, and you see somebody with nice clothes and they function. You want those things. So now your stress levels, you rise to the top. I want to get there. How do I get that? Well, you have to focus on how do I love myself? And you have to look in the mirror and say, I'm okay with who I am. And then you also don't be afraid to raise your expectations.
Come on.
So if you want something, you got to reach and go get it. And then the other thing, don't be afraid to pivot and do something else. Like, for example, if you're a young man that everybody wants you to be a basketball player because you're tall, well, if you like to sing, go and sing and do what you want to do. But I think for our parents, and I've prayed about this for years, if our government some kind of way can limit, if you're 18 and younger, with your social media impact, was all just positive energy. If we can do that some kind of way, it was all enlightening, educational, positive, all of that, and stay away from the negativity, because what happens, you see the stress levels rising of young men and women, suicide rate is wrong.
Rates are through the roof right now.
I read something a couple years ago, now I could be way off now, but it said like black men in America, the suicide rate went up like 100% or
It
something
did.
like that,
It
just
did.
a high level,
Yes.
because the stress is so high. The jobs I'm trying, opportunities in
Right.
my neighborhood don't present themselves.
Right.
I mean, I grew up in East St. Louis, Illinois. When I was growing up, it was 100-some thousand people. It's down to 18,000 people. So now, what are the opportunities? We don't have a lot of grocery stores. So now, where do I get food from? So now, you talking about a state of depression, and that's anxiety, that's stress level. So now, all of a sudden, in order for me to feed my family, I got to find a way to feed them.
I got to
That's
find a
right.
way to feed them.
So I think if we can find ways to show more love, and again, going back to what you're saying, 'cause I know I can get off track here, just going, but you just got to find a way to show love, appreciate yourself, and lean. Not everybody believes it, but for me, it's leaning on God, and that's where I find my strength.
Right.
That's where I find my
Talk
power.
about it,
Understood.
Coach.
Understood.
Absolutely.
And I think if you can trust in God with all your might and lean not on your own understanding, that's so hard. That's so hard for a young mind, because they're just trying to find their way.
Yeah.
And you'll be okay.
And the last thing I'll ask you, Brittney, before you go, what's next for Brittney Reese? When you look at the legacy you want to leave, give us the rundown of what you see for yourself.
Hopefully still inspiring kids. So I just signed a deal with Tracktown USA.
Yeah, we heard about that. Congratulations. You got to talk about this.
So I just signed a deal with Tracktown USA, and I'll be at Prefontaine starting next week, doing engagement with youth and doing some stuff with the jumps and things like that. And then I'll be at the USA Trials the next end of June, the last 2 weeks of June. I'll be there for that. And I'll be collaborating with them on, so we have some merch that I have coming out. It'll be announced later, but
See how she slipped that in?
I know, she's too cool, man.
25% of the merch, so make sure y'all get this.
Okay.
Yes.
25% of the merch will go to unsponsored athletes to help them
Wow.
with their journey.
Oh, we got to sell that.
So
we got to promote this.
so we're trying to pour
we're gonna
into
promote this.
so that's my main goal right now, is to not only level it, but get it to where we're helping those unsponsored athletes,
That's
because
right.
a lot of them don't get that chance
At all.
Brittney, wow, how amazing is that?
That's huge.
For anyone listening, I hope that you just got something, because it blessed me.
Yeah.
Because what we often forget and we often undercredit is the people who have the potential, have the talent. They just don't have the opportunity.
Come on.
They don't have the support.
Come on.
They're not the top 1%, but they would beat anybody on your block.
Yep.
They block the block over and the
Right.
next block down the street.
Right.
But they need someone to say, we see you.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's you. Maybe that's all that we should have been saying from the beginning. Maybe you're one of those that's like, I'm listening to Brittney. She's a champion. I'm listening to what you guys are saying. Look at the life that you created around you. But maybe you need to see that somebody sees you. So what I would tell you to do is change your focus. Start looking at the people that are behind you. Start looking at the people who do see greatness in you, and start celebrating them. But also be honest enough to say, I need the support.
Yeah.
Man, what a
That's
great
huge. I love that.
program.
Definitely.
To not leave them by themselves.
Definitely. And we'll make sure we link that within this episode for sure, so that there are supporters out in the world that say, yes, I'm the one that can actually help
That's right.
these athletes, because it's important.
It is. It's very important. It's tons of athletes that will make the team who are not even sponsored.
We didn't even talk about that.
We didn't even talk about that.
And the athletes that are Olympians that are homeless. Like
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, how many minutes you got left? You got a few more minutes? Well, talk about that. I know usually we like to wrap up, but that's so
huge.
important that we can't skip it. Could you talk about that for a minute? Because we know people for a fact that would travel overseas with no money, unsponsored, and they were squatting or finding a place to stay when they got there because they had no sponsor.
Yep.
This is the reality.
Things have kind of changed since I was there, but there'll be tons of athletes that will pour in their life savings. Like, we're in Olympic year.
Yeah.
And they're believing in themselves on making this team.
Right.
They will pour their life savings. Now I'm gonna break down probably the numbers of how much money they are about to come out.
Talk about it, Coach.
So you have to think about a flight, and you're going to fly into Eugene, which is a small airport.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have that opportunity to fly into Eugene, you fly into Portland, which is 2 hours away. Rent a car, or you can get on a train. So let's just roughly say that's about $700
Yeah.
just off top because it's a small airport. You're gonna go to a hotel that's about to upcharge you.
Of course.
Man,
And if you are a sprinter
Mm-hmm.
that runs the 1 and the 2, guess where you about to be? 2 weeks worth of a room that's gonna cost you about $300.
Yep.
and that's cheap. That's the cheap
is cheap.
hotel room. Not,
That's the cheapest.
Yeah.
And that might be, and what I've learned, a lot of the athletes that are unsponsored, they get together and they get a room together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's
To split the
pretty
cost.
good.
Right.
But
2 weeks.
you're still gonna pay about $300-400 for a room.
Mm-hmm.
per night.
Per
You ain't
night.
8.
Yep, that's not food. She said you ain't 8.
You ain't 8.
So southern.
You ain't 8. And
You ain't
it's Oregon. It ain't cheap neither. So
And that's
those athletes gonna come out about 4,000 for probably minimum.
before
Minimum.
competing. Right. Okay.
While
Before you
trying to be ready.
Oh, trying.
And hoping that nothing happens
No
while
pressure.
you're up there training and practicing.
Training.
Hoping you have an apartment when you get back. Yeah, of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
It's insane. And that's not even, you didn't even break down the professional circuit
Oh,
and
no.
what that looks
That
like
was just the
overseas.
Olympic trials.
That's a whole other
Overseas.
thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a good agent, you ain't going overseas.
How-
Now.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
How?
So you in here spending all your money in the USA.
Broke.
Can't really work. You're trying to work, but the money you got to pay rent, but you can't pay rent because now you got to pay to travel to go compete for the chance of a dream that will likely never happen.
Ever.
But
For
you
most.
have to believe
Some of them
yourself.
have not regular 9 to 5s.
Oh, man. Regular 9 to
And then they
5.
have to come off of work and go train when they get off.
Yeah.
And don't even have a child. Don't be a mother or
Don't have- don't
father.
have
Oh,
little kids or
man.
anything. Yeah, and if you got kids, 10 times worse.
Even worse.
You know, I can share just real quick a little. This is personal for me because I actually lived this. And it was funny. Coach Walker, of all people, actually told me that I had it to go pro too. And it was in my first year out because at that point in time where I was jumping was in the top 25 in the world. We didn't have some of the same people like the Moffats and Levon Sands that would jump 28 feet, Savante Stringfellow. We didn't have that.
Yeah.
many. So he said, Baylor, I think you can do this. My first year, and this is how crazy it is, I was working a 9 to 5 for a company that paid me for marketing.
Mhm.
I was literally in an office, corporate office, communications, and I had to leave work around 3:30, 4 o'clock just to go to the track, to go train. Then I had my weight program. Ole Miss would send it to me. I'm following it every single day. Rain, sleet, a little bit of snow, didn't matter. I had to do this. Now watch this. I went through all that. And the first appearance I ever made as a semi-professional, literally, I told this story on the show before. I was still ranked in the top in the world this time. I tore my Achilles, first meet of the season,
Yeah.
indoor.
Yeah. LSU.
And if I had not
Mm-hmm.
had a 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
bless God that gave me insurance,
Man.
I
We didn't even talk about
probably would
insurance.
still be paying off some of these
Man.
medical bills and the therapy and the
Man.
training. So to Brittney's point earlier, this is why you have to have a backup plan. It is not
Always.
saying plan B
Right.
in case
Yeah.
A doesn't work. What we're
Right.
saying is you're more than what you can do on the field. You're more than your
That's right.
sport.
That's
And
right.
you're more than what you do in the office if
That's
you're a
right.
leader in business. But you need to be prepared, preparing your mind, keeping an honest look at what you're doing, knowing this is a dream, but you're also living in reality.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think is beautiful is you spoke a few things that we want to make sure we take the time to highlight because these are very important points
Right.
that we always stress in our shows. One, as an athlete, you can be very high level, high performing. It doesn't matter what level you've been on or you would have been on,
Right.
it all has to end.
That's right.
You need to be focused on what other skills and gifts you
Come on.
have that you could use
That's
and
right.
develop to
Yes.
create a path for your life.
Yes.
Because the sport you're doing is just a platform.
That's right.
A lot of people forget that. So pointing to that, you have a platform that is helping other people.
Yeah.
You are literally providing a physical product through
Right.
sunglasses
Mhm.
that are made for athletes and enthusiasts and people who are outdoors.
Yeah.
But you also are providing another service as a coach.
Yes.
You're giving of yourself
Come on.
and instilling that in other people. I think the reason why I wanted to highlight that is because it is very, very important for all of us to remember if we're really questioning, like you were, what is it that I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
You have to ask, who is it that I'm supposed to serve?
That's right. That's right.
The moment you answered that
Come
question,
on.
you came out with a business.
Yes.
You have now been a coach.
Yes.
And now watch this. Your skills that took you to the championships are taking your future wife
Right. Come on.
to
Come
the
on.
highest level of competition.
That's right. That's right.
You are now someone who has been poured into, but instead of holding it tightly, my wife loves to say this, you're holding it loosely and giving it away.
Come on.
What does it mean to you as I said that to you? Because I know you're hearing it, and it's sometimes different when you hear it from another perspective. What does that mean to you as you see your life evolving now?
It means a lot. Like, even when I first started Airborne Sports, my whole motto was to give back the kind of knowledge I've gained in track and field, or in sports in general, to the younger individuals. Because if I knew somebody like me, I would be listening like ear to ear. I'm sitting down, I'm taking in everything that you're saying, and I knew how that was, how it could be for younger athletes. So I actually appreciate everything that you said, because that's kind of what I wanted to do for the young athletes that are up and coming, and just want to know what it is like, telling stories to some of the brown athletes about trips to Europe and Olympic Games. They're very invested and interested, and it's kind of fun for me to do as well. So just giving back the skills that I've learned and the things that I'm still learning, it's been near and dear to my heart, and I just want to continue that in Airborne Sports and whatever I do, honestly.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Was there ever a point in your career where you faced heartbreak that was hard to transition out of?
That's track and field.
Started laughing.
That's athletics.
All the time,
Okay,
man. There was so
talk
much
about it.
heartbreak in my career. It's kind of hard. Like, even at the time, you just didn't know how you're gonna get over it. I remember NCAA's. I got second place at NCAA's and SEC's 3 times in a row. Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Second place. So my senior year, I was, shout out to Marquise Dendy. Senior year.
Marquise,
Amazing.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, shout out to him. He was whooping my butt when he came into the NCAA's.
My boy was ready.
I was coming second to him, and I was upperclassman to him. But senior year outdoor SECs, he was jumping pretty good. I was jumping pretty good. It was my last SECs. On my last jump, I jumped 817. And he jumped 828.
Wow,
his last
man.
jump, 828.
Oh my gosh.
And then I was going to my last jump at SECs. Boom, hit the board, 834. First SEC championship.
Are you serious?
First one. First one, right?
Whoa.
And then the next day we won the relay.
That's so funny, Eric. That's how it goes sometimes in track and field, man.
What was the greatest leader in your life that you felt, I want to become a follower of that because their life or their coach, whatever it is, they made you aspire higher. They made you think better.
There's really only, I feel like, one person who has ever really done that.
Okay.
Because as a kid, I took from everybody.
Okay.
Like, I didn't have any role models. Like, I liked the way my aunt did this, so I did that. I liked the way my mom did this, so I did that. Of everyone, yep. But the first time I remember feeling like that was I have a friend who has some condos in St. Martin.
Okay.
And I went to St. Martin and I met a guy who, they called him Rasta, but he literally lived off the land. He made his own house, he grows his own food, everything that he was wearing was all him. Like, and that was the first time I was like, man, like, I can imagine his relationship with God just because he's pure, living the way God is saying we're supposed to be living, you know what I mean? So that was one person who I was like, yeah, I would definitely want to strive to whatever got him to where he is right now. Like, I would love to do that.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What the most humble person.
That's what I was
going
to ask.
Yeah.
What
Not
was
the
it
one
that
with
drew
the
him?
glitz,
That's
the glamour,
Oh yeah.
the cars. It wasn't that.
Oh yeah, nah.
Very interesting. That speaks so much because there are creators and creatives that don't develop patience. Mind you, I didn't say don't have patience. I said don't develop it. When you think about photographers and you think about old photography, the way to develop the film, right? The way to develop the picture or the image, it had to be submerged in the dark, in the water. It had to be hung up. There's so many different steps to develop the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Now, You rush one step, you prematurely turn the lights on, you prematurely lift it out of the water, you can ruin the whole image.
Absolutely.
So even with athletics, you trust your coach. The coach has the blueprint or script.
Yeah.
You work that script, you
That's
understand that script, you even talk about it, collaborate, because if it's just you as an athlete and you have so much to say and you're the great debater, well, then you don't need a coach. You got it. You win. You win.
Yeah.
But understanding what co-collaboration means as a co-creative team,
Play.
it gives you so much leverage to understand that the pressure is not all on you.
That's right.
Take it off.
Yeah.
Take off all that pressure. And some people right now are buried under pressure,
Sure.
buried feeling like they're by themselves. And in that, I would say, go find support, go get community, go get a coach, go get someone that believes in you and bigger than what your vision is currently. And also too, if you find yourself constantly debating or constantly feeling like I can't accept constructive criticism or an outside lens that is trying to really just support me,
Trying to play with you.
I'll say, start doing the inner work to define, where does this come from?
Sure.
Was this passed down? I don't really want to be defensive every time somebody says something about my work that I've created or something that I've submitted, my projects that I've done, but I find myself learning that that's my habit. So if that's your habit, check your habits. Check your habit and then start to develop a new process. Because honestly, when you look at the bigger picture, when you look at the vision of what you've created, it can only be magnified and enhanced and then supported. So really do the work. And if you know that's you, just be like, yo, that's me. She's talking to me.
Absolutely.
She's talking to me. And I'm going to try my best to take supportive criticism. Maybe we'll stop even saying constructive.
That's right.
Because some people don't want to be reconstructed.
Yeah, right.
I'm taking supportive criticism.
That's such a great reframing.
That's it. That's
Coach.
it. That's it.
That's
Coach, right?
such a great reframing.
Support. Supportive criticism. And I'm going to hear what they're saying. I'm going to listen and apply what they're saying. I'm going to step out of my own work. Because sometimes you have to take a step away from what you've created.
That's right.
Right? And then just say, you know what? When I'm ready, I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to apply what they've said. And I'm going to see if it made it better. And if it didn't, I still listened and I still honored what they said.
That's so great, because going back to another lesson we've learned in acting school, I remember there was one time I was doing this scene, and some of you are going to laugh because it's true. I was doing a scene with a partner and I was rehearsing. And again, a lot of times when you're getting sides or a script, you have time with the script on your own.
Right.
You've done this work. You've kind of created this character. We call them choices.
Right.
I made these choices. But then when you bring somebody else in, it is not going to work.
No, not the way you thought.
Because you can't at all prepare for how they've made their decisions and choices, which is why it's important to play, right? And it's important to let go.
Right.
I think that's what most people forget. The work that he is showing us is most important is do the work for yourself.
Yes.
But then let it all go.
Yeah, that's hard.
And that's what is hard, because he said to me one time, I was in the scene and I was giving, and I was killing it. I'm to my own horn. I was laying this script down.
Right.
And he said, look at what she's doing. And I'm looking at her and I'm giving her something. He's like, listen to her. And I'm like, I'm listening. And I'm like, I'm killing it. He goes, no, you're not responding to what she's giving you.
To play on that moment.
I was responding to what she was saying, but I wasn't
right.
responding to what she was feeling and being. There was a point where I said something in the script and her emotions shifted because of how I communicated it.
Right.
And it was my job as an actor to feel that,
Correct.
because it shifts the conversation.
Correct.
Even though I was delivering the lines, I wasn't playing alongside her.
missed the moment.
And he said, you've got to get to a point where you're not married to the way you want to do it or the way you want to say it.
It's hard.
But that's where many of us are.
Yeah.
That's where many of you are as leaders. That's where many of you are as athletes.
Yeah.
That's where many of you are as parents. That's where many of you are in your existence. You're so married to the way you want it to be and the expectations you set that you can't let go when someone else comes into your world or your circle and is meant to enhance and engage you in a way that helps you grow.
Come on.
So you feel offended and attacked, and now you miss the thing that you were hoping and praying would come into your life in the first place. A seen partner, someone who cares enough and loves you enough and wants to be with you enough to play.
Yeah.
You said one thing that I want to make sure I highlight. Our friend Nafis Ricks and Dr. J. Barnett, who we just had on recently, they talk about the struggle to find counselors that look like
Of
us.
course. Especially our culture.
And especially men. I think, and I'm going to be wrong, you probably have the better stats, but it's just my memory trying to pull this out. I believe it's 4% of all counselors are African American. And then out of those, it's only like 1% male. I think I heard that somewhere. So you think about, that's another reason why it's still a struggle, because we don't see ourselves reflected. And we also don't know if we can trust the people that say that they're qualified to have actually been prepared enough to handle our mess. What would you say to someone who's speaking next? I guarantee you someone feels that. I sometimes feel that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, and that happens a lot. And it's on both sides. Some therapists don't feel like they can treat veterans if they've never been a veteran.
Credibility. Okay.
And some veterans feel like they can't be treated by therapists who's never been a veteran.
Right.
seen
I
that
can
as well.
understand that.
Yeah.
Of course.
And my therapist, the guy that I still see to this day, he's not a veteran. He's treated a lot of veterans, and he has a skill set that, is second to none in my opinion. And I think what we have to get past is this prejudgment thing. As a veteran, I think we need to get past this. They can't help me unless they're a veteran. Do my experience inform my practice? Yes. But there are a lot of people that come into my office that I don't share the same experience with. And I'm prayerfully beneficial to them. So it's when you're dealing with therapy, it's about unconditional positive regard. It's about being non-judgmental. It's about being empathetic. Those are the skills that the basic skills that our therapists are given as soon as they start learning how to be a therapist. So if we can get beyond, as clients, if we can get beyond this person has to be this way, this person has to have this experience, and give it a chance. And if it doesn't work, like in my case, I just politely excuse myself from the session.
There you go.
And I look for somebody else. We do the same thing with doctors, but we tend to hold therapists at a different standard.
I can give you
that's
that.
very true.
I did wind up meeting this guy. He's a brother, and he was able to address my concerns of post-traumatic stress disorder. He was able to address my concerns of grief or not really dealing with the grief. He was able to address my concerns with anger management or becoming irritated, understanding where that came from. He was able to help me understand what informed my decisions for 30 years. And he wasn't a veteran.
Yeah.
But he was a person that cared.
And there
Come
it
on.
goes.
So I think we just got to give people a chance. Sometimes we defeat it, and then we have to ask ourselves, why are we defeating this? Because we really don't want to go.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Right. So we don't know what a person can do for us until we give them an opportunity to do it.
That's
Yes,
it.
sir.
That's it.
And prayerfully, you'll be able to benefit from their services if you give them a fair chance to
Right.
provide their services to you.
Right. As you continue to do the work to heal and to forgive, what actually was the indicator of you're going to live life freely? You're going to live and you're going to transition into healing.
The transition into healing was something that I stumbled into. I survived the attack, and I, have to get all of this help, man, and stuff. And so finally, friends of mine was just like, and my godmother, who I was living with, because, and I shared this, if I wasn't living with her, I would have shot myself.
Wow.
But I didn't shoot myself because I didn't want her to I didn't want to leave a mess.
I understand.
So I was very cognitive of how I wanted to go.
Of course.
Because I was staying with her in her guest bedroom, and she had carpet at the time. I had planned all of this out. I said, man, I can't leave this in her house.
Right.
You know what I mean? To leave that picture in her head. So I overdosed because I knew I could go away quietly and it wouldn't leave a mess. So, you know, once I come to myself and she says to me, Jay, you've got to get some help. And I spent a few days in prayer afterward and just sitting and talking with God. And I never forget the voice of the Lord saying to me is that you got to give this to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to give it to him because I didn't know what he would do with it. And that's a lot of love.
Yes.
That is.
Yes.
You know, I wanted to hold on to it because it was also how I felt significant.
Of course.
It gave you identity.
It's always like that, yeah.
Yeah, which is why most people don't heal because being sick validates their existence.
Yeah. That's real. That's real.
What a
Write that down.
Being sick.
Because if I get healed, I have to become a new person.
That's
right. And
you have
most
to do the
people
work.
don't want to do that
Come
work
on.
and don't want the work done on them.
Come on. And even in life, being retired, in life after sport, the revelation that you had in the discovery phase of life is everything.
Sure.
A lot of people will fall victim to holding on to their identity so tightly in athletics that they're always living in the past. They're not even absorbing the present and forget the future, you know? But when you started exploring life, when things started becoming new to you or awakened in you, because if it was already there, those seeds were already there, it was just a matter of time and position with placement to where it was going to be revealed even more. So what was your biggest discovery moment in life outside of athletics?
Ooh.
I know.
You know, I
Sorry for the
truthfully, it's been going on 9 years since I've been retired, and I told myself that I would give myself the same amount of time that I played, the same grace. I would give myself that amount of time to just kind of learn myself or hear myself or just something that I felt like I hadn't known before. Like I had always tried to get to this place because for me, I was like, man, I just want to be free. Like I always felt like I was working to be free. And truthfully, when I retired, I learned a little while after that there was different types of freedom.
Come on.
Talk about it.
And there is what you call like this mental freedom and this physical freedom. And I had to learn to reprogram and program, and I still to this day still working on what that is and how that looks like from day to day, from time to time, given my circumstances. Some people, they, you know, it could be a little different, especially if you have kids or different dynamics. But I kind of was going off shift with it.
That's okay.
No, it's all right.
Again,
It's all right. It's all right.
It's completely fine, man. But I want to say something that you did say, and I think it'll bring your thoughts back.
Yes, please.
Because you were talking about giving yourself grace and time to find yourself again, to rediscover. But you said some profound things, regardless to whether you knew it or not.
Right.
One thing you said is that you were trying to reprogram some things. And I tell people this, and in fact, we wrote this in our book. You're an athlete, and maybe you're a business leader. You have your own customs, traditions. Maybe you have your own processes, right? But those things are just programs.
Yeah.
And just like a incredible athlete, like a Patrick Willis, maybe what you're victim of is your own practice making programmed. Because you programmed yourself to see yourself a certain way, to speak a certain way, to think a certain way about yourself.
That's right.
But the thing about practice is, and you probably heard this before, how many times have you heard it? Practice makes what, Patrick?
Perfect.
See? But it's not true because practice doesn't make perfect. And there's no perfect practice, so you can't have perfect. But you can say practice makes programmed, and programs can be changed. And that's one of the things I picked up from what you just said. You said I spent 9 or however many years it was being institutionalized to such a way that I was programmed to think and speak and live this way. But I was willing to say I'll give myself just as much time to do some unprogramming.
Yeah.
Instead of it needing to be tomorrow, I'll give myself time to do the work and be patient with myself because it took this many years to get here where I am.